Hi, my name's Phil Gardner and welcome to Fun with Boxes. Well, today I'm doing another top 10 list, and today I'm looking at my favourite games beginning with the letter B. If you want to check out my first video, where obviously I looked at the games beginning with A, please have a look on the channel and you'll find it there. So with these top 10 lists, I'm going through our board game collection and only looking at the games we own and the games that we've played, and then giving you our top 10 favourite games beginning with the letter B. And my intention is to go through the entire alphabet, which should be very interesting and I hope a great deal of fun. I certainly enjoyed having a look through our board games beginning with A, and then picking my top 10 from them. And today, obviously, I am looking at the board games beginning with B. Now, I would like to give a quick shout out to Alex from BoardGameCo, who inspired me to do this list after seeing one of his vlogs there where he was looking through a board game library, and as he went through the board game library from A to Z, he stopped and mentioned his favourite games beginning with that letter. So I thought that would be a great thing to do, an actual top 10 list, going through all the alphabet and looking at my top 10 favourite games. So before I take a look at my top 10 games beginning with the letter B, just to give you an idea of our board game collection and what we have looked at, we have 77 games beginning with the letter B. So quite a few games to pick from there, and perhaps some of your favourites could be in my top 10. Well, at number 10, I have a very special game, at least a very special game to me. And that game is Bora Bora by Stefan Feld. This is a tremendous game, I must admit. It's for 2 to 4 players and will run for about an hour to 2 hours. So quite a long game there. But one that means a great deal to me. This is rather tremendous. This is a game where you will be building huts and settling in mysterious islands in the South Pacific and sending your priests to make offerings to the gods. It's a box chock full of Euro goodness. Honestly, if you could feel the weight of it, and this is before Kickstarter blew up with games. This game goes back to 2013, so roughly about 11 years old. And my goodness, if I would show you the inside of this box here, it is chock full of Euro goodness. Look at all this stuff here, absolutely marvellous. And I love this game for 2 reasons. The first one is because this was the game that really sort of cemented the board game hobby for us. We've been buying and playing a few games, but when Bora Bora came along, that's when I think I realised I'm in love with this hobby, because this game was so fascinating. And the reason I found it so fascinating was because it was the first game we ever played that featured dice that were used to perform actions depending on the value of the dice you were using. What a marvellous concept that at the time blew my mind, I can tell you. So whilst this game is over 10 years old, I reckon it could still hold its head up high amongst the games that are out there today. So that's why Bora Bora is number 10 in my top 10 board games beginning with the letter B. And now on to game number 9 in my top 10. And that game is, a crafty little game. A game that will make you swear. Well, it certainly makes us swear. In fact, it makes us swear so much when we play it that we call it Sweary Lagoon. Ah, yes, Reiner Knizia. Oh, that game. Oh, my goodness. Well, you may have guessed that game is actually called Blue Lagoon. And here it is. What a lovely looking box. Nothing to worry about there, is it? This wonderful looking game from Blue Orange Games, 2 to 4 players, will run for about 30 to 45 minutes, designed by the rather marvellous Rainer Knizia. But underneath this calm blue lagoon lies a devilish game, a game that will have you screaming at each other. Oh my goodness. It's such a straightforward game where you're exploring paradise islands of the Blue Lagoon, and you'll be using your little explorers to go across the land, picking up resources and then switching them to be able to sail across the sea there in their little canoes. And then when they get to the other side, you flip them back over and you carry on placing your tribe as they go through and explore the land. And all the time your opponents are putting their tribes directly in your way, or snuffling up the things that you were aiming for, or just generally getting in the way of things. And my goodness, it brings out the worst in me, I must admit. The air is literally as blue as the Blue Lagoon when we play this game. So it really is a super fun game, actually. Really fun, really super easy to play, but just be aware that people could be interrupting your plans and snuffling up all the things that you wanted. It is a joy and fully deserves its place at number 9. So there you go, Blue Lagoon, a tremendous game and one I would highly recommend. Just be aware it may make you swear from time to time. Well, coming in at number 8, I have rather a large game here, and one that is based on an IP, something I don't normally gravitate to, I must admit, not unless the game is particularly good. And in this case, the game is particularly good indeed. And that game is Big Trouble in Little China. And a big box this is indeed, as you can no doubt tell. It's a game for 1 to 4 players and will last around 2 hours. It is, as it says on the box here, an everything epic experience. The cooperative, action adventure, comedy, kung fu, ghost story, monster, miniatures board game for 1 to 4 players. What's not to like about that? Big Trouble in Little China, the game. And I must confess, it really does justice to its IP. It really does take you back to that Big Trouble in Little China film there, back to the 80s. And I love it for that reason, because it does feel like as if you're playing through scenes directly from the film. It's really brilliant. But unfortunately, I believe it's quite difficult to get hold of, or at least it is here in the UK. It could be elsewhere across the world as well. And I've seen this going for crazy prices on eBay, absolutely crazy prices. So you may have difficulty in tracking this down. But if you ever see this at a reasonable price anywhere, I would pick this one up. I really would. It is cracking. And if you're a fan of the film from back in the 80s, you are really going to enjoy this game. This game is quality. Absolutely fantastic. And there you go. Big Trouble in Little China, the game, is my number 8. And moving on to number 7, this time a smaller box game. And this is Paolo Mori's Blitzkrieg. This is an absolutely fantastic 2-player game. It really is. In actual fact, it includes a free solo module by David Tursi. So it is in fact a rather excellent 1 to 2 player game, though I must admit I've only ever played the 2-player version of this. And this says on the box here, it's World War II in 20 minutes. And oh my goodness, it does deliver on that. It really, really does. And it also says on the back of the box here that it's a perfect war game for non-war gamers. And I couldn't agree more. It really gives you that battling push and pull there, where you are trying to gain the advantage in each theatre. And each theatre has a slide-in track where the central neutral part of the board, and that is where the tug of war comes in there, where you're playing your tokens and trying to push that marker onto your side there to give you the advantage. Oh, this is a really, really brilliant game. And it plays in only 20 minutes, so you could play several games in an evening. And I'm sure after you played your first game, you will indeed want to have a rematch, I am sure. A fantastic two-player game, and this used to be one of my most favourite two-player games. Oh, I've not played it for quite some time. But there you go, Paolo Mori's Blitzkrieg, World War II in 20 minutes. Highly recommended, a brilliant two-player game. And now, coming in at number 6 is a game that I have loved ever since I first played it. And this used to be in my top 10 games of all time. Not sure where it would be now, but it was certainly right up there, right up there. Possibly even at one point my favourite game. And that game is by the legendary Phil Walker Harding, and the game is Barron Park. Barron Park is quite fantastic. It's a 2 to 4 player game, will run from 30 to 45 minutes. And it's all about building your own bear parks using polyomino tiles, and it is quite the puzzle of a game. A really, really satisfying puzzle of a game, which is why I love it so much. You've got so much variability to it, and you're trying to do the best you can with what you've been given. And what's clever about the parks that you were building is that there's an empty space, a pit on each one of them, but you can't put your tiles on. But if you fill up the entire tile apart from that pit, then you get to put a bear statue on it that will be worth more points at the end of the game. And the first person to put a bear statue on there will get the most points for it. I believe something like 16 points. And then the next person to place a bear statue will get 14, and then 12, and so on. So it's a little bit of a race there to actually fill up your boards and then claim those statues over the pits. And it really is terrific fun. So much fun, in fact, that we even 3D printed some bear statues. There, that's a little bear statue. You probably can't see it. Perhaps I'll put a picture on it. There's not much to look at, to be honest, because I haven't painted it or anything. And to be honest, perhaps I should have used some brown filament, and then it would have looked a little more bear-like. But never mind, I guess there are black bears as well, aren't there? So there you have it, Barron Park by Phil Walker Harding. And as the brothers Murph do often say, praise be Phil Walker Harding. This is a fantastic game and fully deserves to be my number 6. Well, let's pause for a few minutes, if you don't mind, and let's take a look at some honourable mentions here. Whilst these are my top 10 favourite games, there were quite a few other games beginning with B that I really felt should be on this list, and they just missed out today. On any other day, they could well have been in the top 10. And with that, my top 10 itself could change from one week to the next. It's just, this is currently what my favourite games beginning with B are. So let's take a look at some of the games that nearly made the list. Well, the first game I'd like to give an honourable mention to is a game that Matthew Jude recommended. And that game is Beowulf, the movie board game. Something I'd never heard of, and I must admit, if I'd seen it on the shelf there in the game shop, I really wouldn't have bothered picking it up. I really do not think. Again, it's based on an IP. So something that I don't normally gravitate to, but Matthew Jude said it was a good game, and if I know one thing about Matthew, I know that he has very good taste indeed. So we had to hunt this down and picked it up for a bargain price as well. And my goodness, what a brilliant game. Oh, this game is so clever, and I couldn't believe it when we got it, but it's actually by Rainer Knizia. So there you go. I would really recommend picking this up if you get a chance there. It's a very, very clever little game, and that's Beowulf the movie board game. Well worth a look at. Well, I do love board games, quite obviously. I'm not sure why I mentioned that there. It is quite obvious that I do like board games. And I like board games for a wide variety of reasons. For the excitement, the joy, the adrenaline. But sometimes I like games to chill. And the next game is possibly the most chilling game you can play. And that is Bob Ross, The Art of Chill. Look at that box cover. Not something perhaps that would grab you in your local friendly game store, but my goodness, what a brilliant chill out game this is. It's for 2 to 4 players and only lasts 30 minutes and features 30 Bob Ross paintings. And honestly, this is just such a joy. It really is. I mean, it almost could be in my top 10, I must admit. There you go. Bob Ross, The Art of Chill game. Chilltastic. And next I have a game that you will probably shout, Phil, you only like it because you're Welsh. Well, that could be true, but I do actually love this game as well. And that game is called Battleship. Haha. Yes, we do love our sheep here in Wales. And I do love this game, Battleship. Oh, it's tremendous fun, absolutely tremendous fun. It's for 2 to 4 players, and I realise I've got the lid on the wrong way round. Oh, not again. Quite shocking behaviour there. Here we go. It's a game for 2 to 4 players and will only last you about 15 minutes. It's simple and devious and so much fun. And it has sheep. Oh my goodness, sheep. Fantastic. Look at the box cover there. Look how happy that particular sheep is by there. Joyful. But not only that, it has fantastic game components as well. Really, really brilliant little game components. Oh, I love these little discs there. And all you're trying to do is lay your sheep out onto the board, claiming as much territory as you can, using the more simplistic rules. It really is super fun to play. Pardon me. And I would highly recommend, just for a bit of fun, a little bit of a filler game there, but it's top notch, really good quality, and is super fun to play. And that is Battleship. And next up is a game that most certainly would have been in my top 10 and possibly in my top 5, possibly quite high in my top 5. And it would have been in there if it wasn't for the most atrocious rulebook that I've ever had the misfortune to cast my weary little eyes over. Oh my goodness, this rulebook is so bad, it totally ruined our first and only play of the game. Ah, such a shame. Let me give you a clue as to what that game could be. Can you see what that is? Here we go. Take a look at that. It's the Batmobile there. How cool is that? The Batmobile there. And that game is Batman Gotham City Chronicles. What a fantastic game that could be. Oh, such a shame about the rule book. It really, really did spoil our first play of that game, because it's such a shame, because I know that in that box lies quite a spectacular game. So we are eagerly awaiting now the third season that we've backed on Kickstarter for the new revised rule book that I believe Paul Grogan has done. So I'm hoping that's going to be far, far better and will enable us to jump into the game and get playing, because it really does look like a fantastic game. That's Batman Gotham City Chronicles. And finally, a game that my wife truly adores, and that is Beaver Creek. What a brilliant little dexterity game. This is something that we take to every board game convention wherever we go, and everybody is fascinated by my wife's beavers. They all love to play with her beavers. People have queued up in the past to have a go at my wife's beavers. Oh, this game is truly, truly fantastic. It's just so much fun. And so dexterous, something which is no good for me because of my essential tremor, but still it doesn't stop me having a go and causing absolute mayhem as I'm trying to balance the little logs on the board and then balancing the beavers on top of the logs. And you play on the back of the board game box, which is rather terrific. This seriously is really great fun. Such a brilliant, simple, quick little game that quite a few people can play. 2 to 5 people can play. Only takes around 15 minutes. It's just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant fun. And who doesn't like a beaver? Look at that beaver there. Fantastic. So there you go. That's a look at the games that very nearly made my top 10 list. So let's get back to that list and have a look at what game is sitting at number 5. Well, the game that's at number 5 on my list may well shock quite a few of you. I know that placing Ark Nova at number 10 on my list shocked quite a few people. But like I say, that game could be anywhere on the list, just depending on how many times I got to play it or how long ago it was that I played the game. Prepare to be perhaps shocked or perhaps not. The game that's at number 5 currently on my list is Brass Birmingham. There, I'll wait for the shock to die down before continuing. This is a game that I'm sure everyone will know about, and it's a game for 2 to 4 players and will run from 1 to 2 hours. And I say that everyone probably has heard of this game because it's number 1 on Board Game Geek. It's been voted the best game currently in the world, and perhaps rightly so. This is a tremendous game. It's a game set in Birmingham where you're trying to expand your empire by establishing canals and rail lines and building and developing various industries, including cotton mills, coal mines, ironworks, manufacturers, potteries and breweries. Very importantly, breweries. I do love a game with breweries in it, and Martin Wallace did not let me down with this game, Brass Birmingham. It really is tremendous, and there's a very good reason why it sits at number 1 on Board Game Geek, because it is an absolutely brilliant game. And I think the only reason that this is at number 5 at this point in time on my top 10 list of games beginning with B is the fact that we haven't got to play it for quite some time. And indeed, I believe we have only ever played it twice, perhaps 3 times back when it first came out. And oh my goodness, it shot to the top, I must admit. Absolutely fantastic. So it's just that we haven't played it for quite some time. Otherwise, I think it would be quite a bit higher. But at the moment, number 5 there is Brass Birmingham. There you go. And coming in at number 4 is a game of blood. Oh my God, a game of blood and murder. Ooh, it's quite troubling, isn't it? Quite troubling. And that game is The Bloody Inn. Oh, wow. This game is fantastic. Designed by Nicholas Robert, and it's from Pearl Games and it's Mordy. At least this is the version that I've got. I'm not sure if there are any other newer versions out there. I'm not sure. But this is a tremendous game. It's just so wrong, perhaps. So wrong. You run a hotel and you're robbing your guests, murdering them, and burying them in the grounds of your inn. Oh, but you've got to watch out for any police that may come and stay as guests in your inn, because obviously they may not be so happy with your nefarious activities. There's that word again. Snuck that in. Nefarious. One of my favourite words. You'd have to watch some of my earlier videos to get that reference. But the artwork in this game, as you can tell, not tell by the cover, the artwork is just absolutely fantastic by Webberson Santiago. You really can tell a Webberson Santiago bit of artwork from any other. This game is just a joy. Like I say, it feels so wrong to play, but it's so brilliant and so clever, and it's one that fully deserves to be in my top 5 games, I must admit. And now coming in at number 3 on my list is a game that we've had for a very, very long time. And it is possibly one of the best 2-player games out there. And that game is a GMT game. Now, you may be thinking of big war type games from GMT that last many, many hours. But no, this is a 2-player game. And it's a game called Battle Line. They're published by GMT Games. And lo and behold, who is the designer of this game? Why, it's Rainer Knizia. Oh, and we used to play this game many, many times and love and really enjoy it. And we never really knew who Rainer Knizia was. Well, now, of course, we do. This is a fantastic game. This one, like I've said, we have played many, many, many times. It's just such a simple card game where you lay out for this version of the game, where you lay out a battle line of these little markers, and you sit at either side of it and start playing cards onto each side of your battle line, and you're trying to have the most strength on one side to move the pawn to your side. And I believe it's the first person to win 3 of these pawns that are adjacent to each other in the row. If you moved 3 of these over, you would win the game. Or if you win any 5 pawns that are in the row. It's a proper little battler where you're trying your best to outwit your opponents, trying to bluff them perhaps, that you're going for a certain set of cards on one side. And there are 10 tactic cards that are in the game as well that you can use on your turn to perhaps try and sway the battle in your favour. Don't be put off by the theme. It's just a terrific, brilliant 2-player game. Absolutely superb. That's Battle Line. And coming in at number 2 is a game that literally blew my socks off. A game with a theme that didn't really interest me. Didn't interest me at all, if I'm honest. But oh my goodness, I'm so glad that my wife picked this game up at Essen. It is a tremendous game, and it's a game that I've covered on the channel. You can have a look at that. There's a full how to play video, an overview and quick review of the game as well there. And that game is The Battle of Versailles. Oh my goodness, what a fantastic game. It's a two-player game and will run for around 30 minutes. And it's all about the fashion industry. 5 legends of French fashion against 5 American rising stars looking for glory. Oh, what a fantastic push and pull game this is. It truly is superb. Don't let the theme put you off. If a game of fashion designers does not float your boat, do not let that put you off, because you will be missing out on one of the best two-player games I have played for quite some time. This is spectacular. I've covered it on the site. Please do take a look at that video and check out the game. It is truly outstanding. I'd highly recommend this game to anyone. That's The Battle of Versailles. Well, here we are. We're at the number 1 spot. And what is my most favourite game beginning with the letter B? Well, possibly this may be obvious to some of you, possibly not, but there can only be one game, and that game is Blood Rage. Oh, what a superb game this is. Designed by the rather wonderful Eric M. Lang and published by Simon Games, this is absolutely legendary. I can tell you that much now. It is one of the best games I have ever played, and one that could possibly sit right up there at the top of my all-time favourite games. This game is spectacular in every sense of the word. Not only because it's got these wonderful huge miniatures, but it's a dudes on the map game like no other. You will be invading, pillaging, killing and dying in epic battles. Life is fleeting, but glory is eternal. Wow, this game is something special. Absolutely superb. A game that's part area control, part card drafting, part wondrous. It really is fantastic. It's a game we've played many times and introduced to quite a few of our friends, and everyone who we have played it with has instantly fallen in love with it. It is such a brilliant game with brilliant artwork as well by the wonderful Adrian Smith. Blood Rage is a game that, even though I'm not that good at it and Lisa runs away with victory more often than not, it's one of those games where I don't really care if I fall way behind, because I've just had such a brilliant time playing it. Just trying to get those big legendary monsters out and going for the lands that I need to get for the cards that I've drafted, and trying to see what happens when everybody goes into the middle and battles there at Yggdrasil. Oh, it is superb, because even if you get your warriors wiped out, sometimes you get glory for that. Glory at Ragnarok, as it consumes the land and your warriors, giving you extra points. I don't care if I lose at this game. I just love playing this game. And that's what it's all about. Having fun with these boxes. And in particular, this box of Blood Rage. A game I highly recommend you take a look at if you've not played it already. There you go, Blood Rage. Eric M. Lang, you are a genius, sir. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at my top 10 games beginning with the letter B. I certainly really enjoyed digging out these games and going through our list of games. Like I said, I believe it's 77 games we have that begin with the letter B. So a ton of games to choose from there. And I must admit, getting it down to the top 10 was quite tricky. But that number one game there, Blood Rage, I really think that's a tough one to beat. Though a lot of the other games could have been, as I say, at any position there. It's just where I currently see them at this point in time. They could well change indeed, especially games like Brass Birmingham. If I get more chance to play those games, perhaps they will get a little higher on the list there too. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this list. If you have, please do click the old like button and also hit that subscribe button too. That would be really, really fantastic, because I would love to continue making these videos and working through the alphabet there, giving you my top 10 game lists there. So tune in next time for my top 10 games beginning with the letter C.
Did you mention my beaver?
Yes, I mentioned your beaver. Good Lord. Are you coming down?
Yeah, I just wanted to do the show to see if it would make the edit.
Ah, right, okay. Well, as always, thanks so much for watching. Please do take care, and bye for now.
Did you
Well,
mention